97.7 The Game.
Evan Giddings and Alan Stiles in for Matt Steinmetz and Daryl the Guru Johnson. This is the crossover. What's up, Mark Willard? What's up, Dan Dibley? I know one of you had your mind blown yesterday. What's going on, boys? How are you?
What's up, fellas? How you doing?
Yeah, good.
That would be me.
Yeah.
The Illusionists, the Mentalers.
Yeah, we could have some fun with our callers today if you want, because I wonder if people either are part of the industry, they've been to a show like this before, what have you. I'm somebody who is, easily amused, and also
Thank God.
I don't know how things work.
Yeah.
It's why I hire people if something breaks at the house.
Yeah.
I don't know how things work. So, yeah, we went to go see an illusionist right up the street from where we are right now, by the way. We walked after the show yesterday, and the person, actually the illusionist's
Edward
wife.
Norton.
Yeah, the illusionist's wife went into labor, so he tapped out, and Sam Darnold showed up, and it wasn't actually Sam Darnold, but the backup showed up, and he called himself a magician and a mentalist, okay?
Yeah.
I could tell stories for the next 4 hours about stuff that happened, and you're like, I don't get that. We've all watched magicians do card tricks,
Right?
Yes.
But I was involved in one of these. For example, he gives some guy in the audience 2 feet away from me a box at the beginning of the show. It's under lock and key. The guy's told, hold it, do not let go, do not let it out of your sight for the whole show. And I mean, this person's not part of the show.
He wasn't a plant.
Everybody in the audience ended up involved. So unless I was the only person there who bought a ticket, then these people were not actors. So this bumpkin's over there with the black box, and he's sitting there for the whole night, never lets it, and it's locked under lock and key. Hour later, he's going around to different people. Sir, and I was the airline guy. He goes, think of an airline, okay? You over there, think of a number. You think of a number. You think of a number. And you over there, you think of a city. How about a destination? We go around the room, and I said United, and the next person's like 6. Next person's like 3. And then the city, the guy goes Miami Beach. All right, Miami Beach. End of the night, open up the black box. United Flight 63 landing in Miami Beach.
Really?
How?
Well, I think that's the point. I had no
Tell
clue.
me.
Yeah.
Somebody explain that to me.
I don't
I
know.
got 28
Gotta get 'em
more
on.
questions, too.
Well, the plant had a crayon on his lap,
No.
and he's like slowly. You think he's fixing a zipper, but he's writing stuff down. And then he slides it through the seam in the bottom of the box. Boom.
It will make
Debunked.
if you're a skeptical
Thank you,
person,
and
I
I
mean,
am.
yeah, well, me too. I'm not like, dude, you're reading 87 people's minds all at once, but I mean, none of it made sense.
You guys have tells that you don't know about.
None of them.
Ones that would
What type
determine
of
an airline
tell would
pilot.
that even be?
Guys,
I know,
how about
pen.
this one's even better. Guys,
He
sit,
reeks of United. Yeah. First and
well, here's the
foremost.
crazy
And Miami
thing. I've
Beach.
been on I've been on Southwest flights like all summer long. Not once on United. Why did United pop into my head?
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. Doctor sitting next to me. Young, good-looking buck. I don't know, probably 38 years old.
Doc
whatever.
Pandia today at 4.
There you
Wasn't
go.
him.
Doc sitting next to me goes up on the stage at one point, and I mean, he's the distance from me to you, Stiles, and he is 10 feet away from the mentalist the whole time. Okay, and he's sitting on a chair. Mentalist pulls out a Sharpie, draws an X on his own hand. Goes, look, everybody, look. See the X that I just drew on my hand? Yep.
American
okay.
history.
Rubs the hands together. Pow! Opens up the hands. The X is gone. That's one thing. Then he looks at the doc 10 feet away and goes, look at your own hands.
No way.
Opens his hands up. There's a freaking X on the guy's hand.
Hey,
On
man.
the doctor's hands?
And he sat back down
That's
and
unsanitary.
talked to us
My
during
God.
intermission, and he's like freaking out. Like, he's like, I don't know how. I go, is the X still on your hand? He goes, I went to the bathroom and washed it for 10 minutes. It's still, you can still faintly see it. He goes, I don't know how the hell that happened.
No, I'm into
I mean,
it.
it wasn't leprosy. I mean,
Brother,
who
into
knows?
it.
Ghosts.
Brothers, I'm
Ghosts.
telling you, it was weird.
That's
I
an
think there's
unsanitary
some
doctor
there's
that
some
I don't
people-
want to visit.
Yeah.
No, it's a doctor who washed his hands, but if you have an appointment today and your doc has a black X on his palm,
Should
Yeah.
ask him about it.
Don't ask him about it. He'll freak out.
I think it's time to reschedule.
No. Weekends when, everybody's asleep. I'll get on YouTube. I'll fire up the documentaries. I believe in all of it. All of it.
Dude.
All of it.
Like ghosts and stuff, or
I
you're
know
talking
that
about
there's
just like
some
magic and like all
I
that.
believe in unexplainable things for sure. I don't know if I'm saying somebody's born with whatever.
Oh,
I'd like to think that somewhere
third
deep
eye.
down I have it.
So
I just haven't unlocked
So
it
you
yet.
do believe in Brock Purdy? I knew it. I knew it.
What do you mean?
An unbelievable thing. Mr. Irrelevant.
I believe
Mr.
in Brock
Irrelevant.
Purdy.
Before.
I mean,
I believe in Brock
you're
Purdy.
telling me that the X on the guy's hand is
Yeah.
more odd, or Kyle's favorite word,
Yeah.
weird, than Mr. Irrelevant
No.
winning all of his games?
No, I believe in
We
Brock
would have laughed
Purdy.
that magician out of the
My
room.
question is this. I don't even know if it's as much of a question, but if you have the Niners and specifically Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch put themselves into a position where a lot of people are talking about a hot seat. I don't think Evan nor myself think they're on the hot seat. I think
No, it's like my shower today, cold.
Yeah, I think quite the opposite. You're all about those now.
I am.
Quite the opposite. They've put themselves in a situation to hedge their bet. If they win, they're geniuses. If they lose, hey, we got a second-year QB. He's still developing. What do you say to that?
Well, the hedge is gone because the hedge is this year.
That's my question.
The hedge is gone.
Because we've talked about how much of it's been about Trey's development. Brock is more ready than Trey, or Brock is ready.
Right.
Nobody has talked about the fact that Brock is still developing.
Right, and Trey is gone. So if Brock is not it, and Sam Darnold can't come in and rescue you, maybe he sees ghosts like the mentalist is like drawing random X's on people's hands, like he's a ghost or something, whatever that was. I'd have to see it to believe it, but
dude, it was
I
wild.
believe you, so I don't even know.
It was wild.
But if Brock,
And he was the backup.
He was a backup.
Yeah.
We just found out yesterday morning. They called him in. Like Cap walked out with his buddy, the other Cap.
We
and
need you
walked
to
out.
bring you Sharpie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
basically, it was Brock Purdy just came thrown into a situation.
if Sam
Actually,
Darnold,
he's us.
if
He's
Sam
us.
performs like that, we're running with the twos today.
Yeah.
If Sam performs
guys.
like that, then the Niners will go 14-3.
We didn't know what we were missing because we've never seen the first string, but the second string kept us entertained.
There you go.
We walked home happy.
Well, it turns out the first string was Mr. Irrelevant because it didn't matter to you that he was there or not.
Well stated.
Yeah,
I mean, but but Allen's, and I think the hypothetical we're trying to get at is same thing happens this year. If they get to the MC Championship, they lose. I know it does matter how it looks, but it does feel like the 49ers are in a position, or at least Shanahan and Lynch are, where they kind of can't lose unless things go horribly wrong this year.
Agreed.
I don't know. Well, it depends on how you look at it. Like the two
Like
scenarios.
as long as Brock Purdy looks like a guy you can win games with in the next couple of years on his rookie deal, then they're sitting pretty.
I think Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch are sitting on ice chips right now. That's how hot I think their seat is. It is like that's an absurd statement. But the two scenarios you threw out, Stiles, the second one, I feel like people will not just be like, "Oh well, sure, understandable."
I know
second
people
year
won't. I guess internally.
No, even internally.
Yeah.
I don't. But their seat is not hot. Their seat is not hot, and I think the likelihood of it being that, you know what I mean? Brock is either going to be who we saw last year or a reasonable facsimile of. Like the Niners aren't going 4-13.
No.
This is not going to crater. They're not going to be a disaster.
Right.
So what's the scenario that gets the internal people all upset? Yeah, I don't see it as realistic.
No, I think it turns into you have, and Evan was speaking to this, the next 2 years with Brock to hopefully get it done. And if you don't get it done, because that's when, the rookie deal situation comes up, then it turns into, okay, did we lose to Mahomes in the Super Bowl? Did Jalen Hurts continue to ascend? Is it proven that Brock, although he is much better than Trey Lance and better than Sam Darnold, we have to find a way to get a dude? And now, do we want to pay Brock as a dude when he's lost to dudes, or do we want to go out and get another dude?
It's tough to say because of all those dudes, and we went through the drought yesterday. Buffalo's never won one. Cincinnati's never won one. And you go through all the teams that have dudes, including Genital Herbert's, your team name. And we face off in week 1.
Yep.
But it's his team name, not mine.
Hey, reigning
Justin
champion,
I didn't even know that was you.
No.
I didn't even know that was you.
It had to be him, the only Charger fan on staff.
On Earth.
Like, they have a dude, but he hasn't done anything. So if the Niners don't have a dude and they don't win it, well, join the list of teams that don't have a dude and haven't won it, but maybe Brock is the guy, and they still don't win it.
But the question would be, and I know the Bengals have built up their skill, their skill positions and things like that. The question would be, you've only seen Brock with a ridiculous offensive skill set. And at some point when it is, we're talking the 2 years now, you got 2 years to figure it out. When you got to pay Brock, and maybe that means Ayuk, we just, and actually I looked it up, it was 60-40. We asked if you had to say goodbye to Debo or Ayuk, who would you say goodbye to? More people were willing to say goodbye to Debo.
Yes.
So take that for...
Yes, with Christian McCaffrey here, I would agree.
Right.
I would agree.
So if you're going to start, you got to, okay, we want to pay... We want to pay Brock because we like what he's done, even though we haven't won the big one. But hopefully you just pray that his development matches the fact that at this point in time, our roster might not be as good, because that's what it is. Those guys that you're paying big money to, it's because you're supposed to make up for the positions that Patrick Mahomes, I mean, we're giving you all this money, but he makes up for it. The question is whether or not Brock gets there. But honestly, you just hope that you get it done before, like they did with Russell Wilson.
And you figure in 2 years, Trent Williams will likely retire. And then, George Kittle will be 32.
Yeah.
And so you have questions about a lot of different guys. Nick Bosa, he'll still be unsigned. He'll still be holding out. So hopefully by 2026, they'll come to terms. I'm kidding, but that number, I think, is real in terms of like what you're talking about, Alan, and all the future contracts you're going to be facing.
Yeah, you're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco, always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch, and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. I also think that with the conversation of Brock Purdy, it is, a lot of people are going to expect last season over the course of 17. And I don't think that regression necessarily means that you don't have a 105 passer rating, you don't have a 70% completion percentage, you don't win every single game. Like, I think that every quarterback has hot stretches of their year, and Brock Purdy just did that immediately.
Well,
and so if we're judging him on what he can and can't do by the end of this year, and we're talking about then you have 2 years to figure out if he's the dude or not, like, I expect him to struggle at points throughout this year, but that doesn't mean that he's not the guy.
No, I agreed, but I think that this is almost a negative for Brock right now. People have a perception, because the Niners scored 33 a game and never lost, that he came in and statistically lit it up. He didn't. How many times? I think maybe he threw for 300 yards one time. A lot of these games where they scored a lot, he threw for 180 yards.
Right.
So his efficiency was great. His rating was great. But the thing that was making people latch on was they never lost. He's never lost a football game.
Right.
Wow.
I mean, obviously there was the Eagles
that he finished.
Well, he never played a lot in a game, and people looked at him and went, "Dude, you lost the game." That's never happened before. So that's almost a negative now, in that some point this year, like, Brock Purdy's going to lose a football game.
Oh, you're a hater.
Week one.
You're a hater.
And people will look at the quarterback and be
Dibs.
like, it's a different feeling. So
I'm finally digging my way out.
Like, he could throw for 250, and he could throw for 2 touchdowns and 1 pick, what's like a normal kind of solid-ish game, and the Niners lose 27-24, and there might be a completely different feeling about Brock Purdy. No one has experienced that yet, including him.
Seattle was the only game, by the way, in which he threw over 300 yards in the playoffs.
Game.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the regular season, his
big
comeback was against the Raiders. He threw for 284. But other than that, 210, 185, 217, 234, 178.
Well, that's why he's still on the board in round 13 of your fantasy drafts.
Right.
Because
And you took him, right?
No,
I didn't get a chance. I forget who scooped him in front of Mark.
You scooped him.
No, I did not. Who was it? It was John, right? Or
I think it was Chris O'Connell.
Who the hell is John?
he's gone today.
Well,
Thank you.
and
I know. Out of me.
there could be talk about regression,
fan.
or the opposite. Hey, this is Brock's second year in the system. What if he's just better? Honestly, if he's better, then we're at a parade, and I hope to hang out with you, Dibs. I'll be walking even better by that point in time.
I can't wait.
Honestly, that's why I feel like we haven't spent that much time on it.
Is that parade here or Santa Clara?
That's the question. I hope.
Santana
I can't walk that far.
From here to Santa Clara.
I can't walk that far.
I was
I
going
can't
to do
walk
it
that
if
far.
they drafted Mac Jones. I had made the promise. I said I would walk from my childhood home to his first start at Levi Stadium.
Yeah.
Luckily, it didn't happen, but I was willing to do
About
it.
27 miles down El Camino
Exactly right.
Real.
It's just a marathon.
I
That's
rode
all.
my bike that far when Lance Armstrong won his second tour. I bet a guy. I was doing a morning show on a Christian radio station, and Jesus loves you on 280.
God. Yeah.
Shout out JC. And I told him if Lance Armstrong wins the tour, coming off of testicular removal surgery, I said I'll ride my bike from AT&T, now Oracle, down to HP, now SAP, 50 miles.
Damn.
And I did it. Yeah.
Wow.
Do you
Yeah.
do you get your energy back now that you know he cheated?
No.
Okay.
No, but I got my energy on the ride as my partner, Larry Olson, who rode with me, was shouting out Jesus and Leviticus and John the Baptist and Daniel in the lion's den. We did the whole thing.
Sounds like a good day.
Both
It's a Genesis
Yeah.
story.
Wow.
There you go.
Yeah.
This is something else.
He parted the roadway down in Menlo Park.
good.
It was incredible.
Yeah, wide open
Yeah.
spaces.
Can you park
Great.
traffic on the way home?
You can when you're rolling with a Christian like that.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Do you think gunslingers are Christians, Alan?
It's a great transition to an earlier conversation.
Yeah, I mean, it was something that kind of got us going and
I don't know if I'm supposed to actually answer
No, you were.
that.
Well,
Please don't. He's pivoting. He's a veteran. You were talking about what defines a gunslinger,
Yes.
and I actually had to get out of the car, and so I missed what the definition was. So, can you refresh our audience in the afternoon here?
Oh, thank you, Dibs.
You're welcome,
It's,
Evan.
to me, it's
to
more
sleep.
of like it's more of an aura or a confidence that I think a particular individual exudes. Like for me, I think people would associate someone like Jay Cutler with being a gunslinger. To me, he is not, because I just don't feel confident that wherever the football is going when he throws it is going to be somewhere that I want it to be. It's a risk taker, but a calculated risk taker, and that's why I think Brock Purdy, to me, does have gunslinging qualities and could follow someone like Ben Roethlisberger, not in terms of success in Super Bowls, but the mentality of going from a guy that's in a run-first offense, defense first, to then by the end of his career, we all view as Ben Roethlisberger as a gunslinger.
I guess I hear what you're saying on the gunslinger characteristics, but then he also has some that are not. And this is maybe just my perception. The name I always associate when people say gunslinger. Rest in peace, John Madden. Brett Favre.
Yeah.
Brett Favre
That's a four.
is the ultimate gunslinger, and what comes with that is not just success, but a lot of mistakes.
Yes.
It's like you're a risk taker.
Yes.
You're going to get burned by that
High
sometime.
risk, high reward.
I see Brock Purdy as somebody who is very much built around, like you think about, run left, run right, now throw to IU, corner of the end zone. There's a little bit of that, but I think also the 49ers' entire offense is based on don't turn it over.
Yeah. And
He also wasn't punished for a lot of the mistakes that he made last season, putting the ball into...
yeah. Well,
Harm's way.
It started.
I feel like that was
you.
more garden variety than people give it
Well,
credit
actually,
for.
now I want to see the JT O'Sullivan. Keep firing him out because
there's a stat for this. There is a stat for this. Turnover-worthy throws.
Yeah.
And Brock Purdy did not have a bad number there. Like when people say Brock got away with all those drop picks, not more than anybody else.
Look, man, I'm not talking
more
about
than anybody
last
else in
year.
the league.
I'm not like Birdman. I'm not talking about it no more. I'm talking about.
Nice.
I just want to see. I just want to see next season. That's where I'm at. But where this started was
9 days.
9 days. Where it started was the idea of Kyle Shanahan saying, "I want Trey to rip it," and how Brock
Let it rip. Yeah.
let it rip. And so I'm like, let it rip, gunslinger. But I don't think that's how Kyle Shanahan means it. He just means
I don't either.
Understand what you want to do and go. Just go. So I think a lot. It just had me thinking: is he a gunslinger?
Well, you mentioned JT O'Sullivan, and I think maybe you're referencing what he kept talking about when he was doing videos on Trey Lance, and I actually forget the term. Was it like drop downs or what? What he was saying was the
Turn downs.
Turn downs. Thank you. Turn downs.
Turn
Meaning,
down for what?
Meaning the throw's there.
Why?
And you didn't throw it.
Yeah.
And in the NFL, you have a split second to decide I'm going to let it rip and go for it. And Trey too often was not doing that. And I think Brock does that well. So I don't know if that makes him a gunslinger or not. That
Just makes him
makes him somebody who's delivering the ball on time.
It makes him somebody who is aware of what's open in this offense,
Yeah.
and we all talk about the great scheme and the laminated play sheet and the fact that Kyle can scheme something open, and Brock Purdy has a great ability, greater than Jimmy Garoppolo, and I say this knowing that my partner is probably going to take offense, and it's going to be a long show, and it's a Friday.
It's gonna be weird.
But Brock is better
It's
than
gonna be
Jimmy
unusual.
G at knowing when he gets the ball from the center, when he removes his hands from underneath that other man's backside, and he gets that leather object. he knows where the play is supposed to be open, and he gets the ball there.
I would be ridiculous to disagree with that at all.
Yeah, what's good? That does not sound like Willard at all.
No, I came down Jimmy G's road. That's why I thought
Purdy
maybe
completely elevated the 49ers from Jimmy G.
Who
Jimmy
can't
is
see
the
that?
X. Yeah, who can't see
Willard
that?
has moved on.
Yeah.
Shout out Twitter.
But Jimmy Garoppolo could throw for 180 yards a game
Yeah,
and
Jimmy,
2 touchdowns.
Jimmy was a good
statistically
quarterback.
is
Jimmy was a
about the
good
same,
quarterback. I don't think he ever. I forget the 8-game win streak that Jimmy went on. I forget the 33 points per game that Jimmy averaged over a long period. I forget all those things. I forget the first half playoff deficits that Jimmy erased. I forget all of that stuff. I don't remember that, mainly because it didn't happen.
You remember that one time he wandered out of the back of the end zone against Denver?
I do.
That was pretty fun.
Then he threw a pick 6.
Yeah, pick 8.
Saved by the end zone.
Pick 8.
First only time. Yeah, exactly.
That's a great Bonte call.
Unless the Niners plan on going undefeated, I'm not excited for the Niners to lose, but ultimately I just want to see how it's received, because I think you make a good point, Willard. Nobody knows how everybody's going to react to it. Obviously, the type of loss matters, but this is something that we haven't experienced with Brock if he starts and finishes a game, and how it's all right. And I think, honestly, as crazy as it sounds, because it could be Pittsburgh, right? We're talking about maybe not having Nick Bosa in Pittsburgh, and even if you have him, that's a game you could lose. I mean, Evan and I were joking in the green room because I'm like, man, Pittsburgh, it's always going to be cold. It's always going to be dark. They only have night games, and it's going to be one possession. Evan said, all of those things are not what it's going to be when
it's
they
face off.
But it doesn't matter. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter to me.
Yeah.
In my mind, that's what it's going to be, and it's got to be one possession. So if something goes down and doesn't flip the other way, I don't think there'll be any question marks.
Just to do a quick Tony Reale here
Go ahead.
and do like the fact checking for the program.
Okay.
Jimmy did win his first 8 in 2019.
Oh,
so we
exciting.
do. No,
Oh, wait.
We all forget.
Yeah, I thought
and I'm
those
with
things
you.
didn't
I'd
happen.
forgotten until I had to Google it. Trent
Okay.
Baalke, but they started out 8-0.
There you go.
Under Jimmy G.
I stand corrected.
Throwing for $166, $181. He had $151
Still didn't-
in that 9-0 win over Washington.
It still didn't. Yeah, it didn't.
Thank you, Trent.
I'm pretty sure they didn't average 33 a game. I'll just put it this way: I was
Like a top
never
3 offense, top
I
5
never
offense there.
was. Yeah, but it was a lot of running the ball. Like I was not. I was never as impressed by Jimmy as what I saw Brock do in those 8 games last year. Put it that way.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of 100-yard rushing games during that win streak. I think.
Yeah.
110,
They scored
120,
235 over the
200
course of those
Buccaneers.
8, which
Yeah.
is, you don't have to do that. It's
What is it?
29 a game.
So that's not 33.
No, and that included the 9-0 win against Washington in an absolute sideways downpour.
Look,
it was a bog of a field.
The loss.
At FedEx.
The loss is coming.
Thank you, RFK.
The loss is coming. The bad game is coming. Like if I ask y'all this, I won't name the quarterback. This happened last year. Last year, a quarterback was upset on the road by a woeful Indianapolis Colts team.
Oh, man.
In that game, this quarterback's team only scored 17 points.
Hate to see
Jesus.
it.
And this quarterback turned the ball over as many times as he scored. Who am I talking about?
Patrick Mahomes.
Exactly
Yeah,
right.
Man.
So, like, that's coming.
That's a small sample size.
It's a trap game. What are you talking
But all we're
Jonathan
talking
Taylor
about
was amazing.
No,
as
but
that
here's the thing.
Rest in peace.
He's on Allen's fantasy team. Be easy.
I won a survivor pool largely because of this game. That's why I remember it so well. But anyway, like all we're talking about is one game.
But here's my
Brock
thing.
is going to have.
Man.
There's going to be days like that, Mama.
But
Thank you.
Willard,
That's a
I gotta address something. Okay, because we did
Look
a show.
right at
What
me.
was that last week? Last week we did a show.
Be a mentalist and get in my
and
dome.
we had the conversation, and it was, hey, if the Niners don't win the whole thing, you said basically, I don't go Super Bowl or bust.
No.
Once you get to the big game, it's a flip of a coin, right? But I'm struggling with that, Willard,
Only for the Bills.
Joe Namath.
ever since that show ended, because if you sit here and you're saying all these things about Brock and saying, you believe that the Niners offense is just going to improve, then you have to at least say at some point, you don't have to, you understand what I'm saying. Hey, man, at some point, the Niners, the way they're rolling, I do believe that they should at some point win a Super Bowl, because if you say, hey, the Niners are doing all these things right, but also sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, I feel like you're just on the fence. No,
not at all.
How are you not?
Because you're forgetting who's going to be waiting for him. And you're acting like
so
the
you're
Niners.
saying that, so him or them? So are you saying Brock has
if
a
Brock
limit?
is really, like, you don't even know if the Niners would be favored in that game if they get there.
No, I don't.
Okay.
But I know they have a
So,
top 5 offense and
Great,
defense.
and probably so does the team they're playing.
That's fair.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Plus, I don't even get into the whole Super Bowl thing in September because they're like, what is the scenario? How did they get there? Who's healthy?
Yeah.
Who's hurt? Are they an 8-point underdog when they get there? I have if the Chiefs are 17-0,
Yeah.
and you're playing Mahomes and people come marching into the Super Bowl, well, Brock, you better win this or you're fired, Kyle.
Sure.
And you're an 8.5-point dog in the game because the greatest thing we've ever seen is like.
Yeah, but let me ask
I
you this way.
need to know the scenario.
That's fine.
So I'm not going to give anybody Super Bowl or bust on September 1.
Let me ask it this
If
way.
they get there and they're a 12.5-point favorite against the upstart Garoppolo-led Raiders.
Oh, stop it.
Who get
It's
a
home
wild
game.
card spot
What up, home
and
game?
show up in the Super Bowl, and you better freaking win the game.
Well, let me ask it this way. If you think that Kyle is sitting on ice chips or ice cubes right now, he's in the 7th year. We keep on using the comp of 14 for Andy Reid. What would Sands, besides just completely imploding, what would be your limit to where it's okay? You should probably think about moving on from Kyle because Andy Reid, he eventually had some.
Why are we even asking that?
Because I want to know.
There's no answer for that
There
right now.
is. I want to know.
I mean,
The answer is this. The answer is if Brock Purdy turns out to not be very good, because he chose Brock over Trey, and if Brock turns out is not very good, and I think
I don't even agree with that.
Well, I do.
but
And that's
you
the
said that
answer.
about Trey.
No,
Everyone
I
said that about Trey.
but then he got rescued by Brock.
And so maybe
So,
he's wrong about Brock and
Brock
gets rescued
stinks,
by someone else.
And
Brandon Allen.
Brandon Allen.
Or Darnold or the guy you don't even know yet.
Sure.
Who knows how this is? That's what I'm saying. Why are we asking for
if
like
Brock's no good
hypothetical?
and you don't win the Super Bowl and you wind up having to pay Kirk Cousins next year and you got to let these other guys go, that's a very damning reality for Kyle Shanahan.
Sure it is.
And his
he's-
contract is up in 3 years, which means 2 years.
And there's essentially very little chance anything happens before then. So
2
like,
years, yeah.
Why would we come up with odd, weird hypotheticals
Neither odd nor
that
weird.
are
No,
going to get it? You know what I mean?
That is
No,
the
but it's not
answer,
a
though.
hypothetical. It's just
that's
if somebody
disagree.
says, I think Kyle Shanahan's on the hot seat, and I say, well, I don't, and then somebody asks you, well, when do you think he would be? That's all. That's all. It's a simple question.
He's got 2 years.
So like,
He's got 2 years.
That's your answer.
Well,
Yeah.
his contract is for 3, and nobody ever coaches in their lame duck year. So if in the next 2 years Brock turns out to turn into a pumpkin and they regress to being like a mediocre team, well, then he goes from the hammock with an ice cool lemonade, which is where he is right now, with his feet up and an electric fan like my partner, and things get a little bit different.
Yeah,
Things get weird after that.
but to me,
yeah.
that is things get weird.
Okay.
Like, why the hell would that happen with this roster? Why? I mean,
I don't know.
You've sat here for the better part of a year saying it doesn't even matter who the quarterback is.
It doesn't.
So
Right.
why the hell would they suddenly lose games?
I guess that's why I'm asking.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess that's why I'm
Because
asking.
Sam
I think
Darnold-
they'll always be good.
and
Sam
With
Darnold
Shanahan.
appears in an episode of Scooby Doo, and he started roast. He starts seeing those roast.
Maybe a
And we
3.
would have won it if it weren't for you sniveling
Yeah.
quarterbacks.
That's why I asked that,
Like
because they're not going to fall off a cliff. They're
Well,
going to be good.
I
The
guess-
question is, do they win the big?
Yeah, my point would be you like to come up with a hypothetical reason for that now.
Hypotheticals.
We got to know what the circumstances are because to me it's too simple to say if Brock's not good he's in trouble. If Brock's not good and they're not winning, because maybe someone else will be good.
Right.
And you don't fire winning coaches. You don't even put them on the hot seat. And so Kyle is not.
No, he's not.
He's in a hammock with a lemonade, Mark.
And anyone who says that out loud is just hucking a torch into a room and running out.
Which is kind of fun if you've never done it.
And yes,
and I
that is
promise, I
absolutely
promise I won't
pointed.
do that on the way out of here. But I know what's
Thank
good.
you.
We got you guys, Willard and Dibs, coming up until 6 o'clock on a Feel Good Friday, Football Friday.
You had to
brought
think
to you.
about that,
Yeah, I know
didn't
a
you?
little bit.
About 5:57.
I'm with
Turn
that
on
guy.
Grandy.
Don't take
I thought it
Grandy's
was
time.
54. It was a hard out. To learn 4
57.
things you can do to overcome toxic stress, go to first5california.com. Thank you, Alan. My name is Evan Giddings. We're in for Stein and Goo. Coming up next, Willard and Dibs, 95.7 The Game.